The girl was now 12 and the prettiest creature ever, and the boy was 6. Gualtieri had written to the relative's husband, asking him to be so good as to bring his daughter and son to Saluzzo, accompanied by an appropriate guard of honor, and to tell everyone that he was bringing the girl to be Gualtieri's wife, with no hint to anyone of who she really was. This gentleman did as the marquise asked and set off with the girl, her brother, and the guard of honor. After some days, around the time of the morning meal, they arrived in Saluzzo, where they found all the local people and many others from round about waiting for this new bride of Gualtieri. The girl was greeted by the ladies and entered the hall where the tables were laid out. Griselda, dressed just as she was, went towards her, happily enough, saying, "My lady is welcome." The other ladies, who had repeatedly but fruitlessly begged Gualtieri either to let Griselda stay in one of the chambers or to lend her one of the robes that were once hers, so that she would not appear before the visitors looking as she did, were now assigned their places at the tables and began to be served. The girl was the object of everybody's attention, and the general view was that Gualtieri had made a good exchange. One of those who was most lavish with her praises, both of the girl and of her little brother, was Griselda. Gualtieri thought he had now had all the proof he could want of the patience of his lady. He could tell that it was not at all affected by events, no matter how bizarre they were, and given the wisdom he knew was in her, he was sure that dullness of mind was not a factor. He decided it was time to release her from the tortures he judged she must be suffering beneath her calm and steady exterior. He had her come forward, and before everyone who was there gave her a smile and asked, "What do you think of our bride?" "My lord," replied Griselda, "I can only think very well of her. If her good sense is equal to her beauty, as I believe it must be, I have no doubt that living with her will make you the most contented lord in the world. But I beg you with all my heart not to inflict on her the sort of wounds you inflicted on the other one, the one who was your wife before. I can't really believe that she could stand it. She's younger, and once more she's been brought up in luxury, whereas the other had spent her childhood doing hard physical work." Gualtieri could see that she firmly believed that the girl was going to be his wife, and yet still said nothing he could disapprove of. He sat her down at his side and then spoke. "Griselda," he said, "it is now time for you to taste the fruit of your steadfast patience, and for those who judged me cruel, unjust, and inhuman, to acknowledge that what I did had a deliberate purpose. I wanted to teach you to be a wife, to teach my critics how to take a wife and to keep one, and to bring about for myself unbroken peace and quiet for as long as my life with you might last. This was something I was very afraid wouldn't happen when I first took a wife. It was to test it, if it were possible, that I inflicted on you the wounds and torments you are all too aware of. Since I have never perceived you going against my wishes in anything you have said or done, I judge that I do indeed have from you the contentment I desired. I therefore intend to restore to you in one single moment what I took from you over the years, and to apply the sweetest possible medicine to the wounds I inflicted. So now, with joy in your heart, receive this girl you think is my bride and her brother too. These are our children that you and many others have long thought I had brutally murdered. And I, myself, am your husband, who loves you more than anything else. I think I can rightly and honestly boast that no other man alive can be as happy with his wife as I am. After this speech, he put his arms round her and kissed her. He then raised her to her feet and led her, weeping for joy, over to where their daughter was sitting, astounded by what she was hearing. They tenderly embraced the two children and then told the girl and many other people there the truth of the situation. The ladies were delighted to get up from the tables and go with Griselda into one of the chambers, expressing hopes of a better outcome. This time they helped her out of her rough clothing and dressed her in one of her noble robes. Then they led her back into the hall, a courtly lady, which even in her rags she had retained the air of being. There followed a moment of marvelous celebration with the children, and everyone showed their joy at the way things had turned out. Then they plunged into fun and merrymaking, which went on for days. Everyone judged Gualtieri to have shown great wisdom, though they judged the tests inflicted on his lady to have been so severe, indeed intolerable. Griselda they held to have shown more wisdom than anyone. After some days, the Count of Panago returned to Bologna, and Gualtieri took Giannucolo away from his work. From then he was treated as a proper father-in-law and lived very happily and much respected until a ripe old age. After finding a noble husband for his daughter, Gualtieri himself lived a long and happy life with Griselda and treated her with all possible honor. What can be said here except that divine spirits descend from heaven even into poor houses, and into royal houses come spirits which deserve more to look after pigs than be lords over men. Who else but Griselda could have borne the callous, unprecedented tests Gualtieri subjected her to, not just without tears, but with what looked like cheerfulness? Perhaps it would have served him right if the woman he happened to pick had let another man shake her muff when she was driven from home in her shift, and that way got herself a decent dress. Καλό κι αυτό, Τι να πει κανείς για το μυαλό της Αλληνής.